thanks for getting a KMS system for your kiosk. Here we will go over the parts included in the box. First, I want to point out we have this large weight plate and flat floor. The flat floor is basically a flat sheet of steel, and it is kind of sandwiched in here with a little shock absorber, but just be aware that this is just a flat, heavy piece of metal. It's about 5 or 6 pounds. So here we go. I'm just going to set that aside for now. And then here's the actual weight plate. This is basically a scale. And please be careful with the little cables and things to not pull on them or pinch them or anything. When you put the flat floor on here, it covers all this stuff up, so it's not really a problem, but you just got to be careful when you install it. Also, with this, it's important to make sure that inside the kiosk we have the floor very clean and that there's nothing that's gonna stop this from taking the full load of what is being placed on it. Otherwise the weight might be off or drift or something. All right, so Movie Magic, we have it unpacked from the box. It basically just crumples together or folds all up together down the middle, and you can just unfold it and you'll get all these components out. We have the power supply, which is a 4 D-cell battery pack, and that you need a Phillips head screwdriver to change the batteries. The batteries should last minimum a year, I'd say, unless you're having it check like tons of times a day, to 2, possibly even 5 years, depending if it checks very infrequently or frequently. So it'll last a long time. We have this switch, roller switch setup we have for the door, which goes right here. We have the KMS control module. This is the brains of the operation, and it's what connects to the cellular network. We have this weight plate, which we've already gone over, and we have this LIDAR, which is a infrared time of flight sensor. It basically sends a pulse of light down and measures distance. And that's how it checks how full the contents of the box are. We also have included some little zip ties and some cable management type little sticky things. You also need a small Allen wrench for this. Otherwise you can use a small nut driver here as well, potentially, to tighten this switch on when you install it. So we're going to start by installing the door switch over here. On this corner, it's right by the hinge on the kiosk. If you're installing this type of a kit on the kiosk, that means that the kiosk was designed for this switch to go there. So there will be a little flange and some holes in it that this switch will mate up against. So you just gonna take that, and I'm gonna tighten this nut on there. You can just finger tighten them and then tighten it down snugly, but not too tight, where you're cracking the plastic of the switch with the Allen wrench. Not always the easiest getting that started. All right, we're gonna want to prep wherever we stick down cable management or any other sort of adhesive, which is on the battery pack or the KMS control module or the LIDAR sensor. We want to prep the surface with rubbing alcohol to make sure that you get a good bond. And this can just go along the inside face of the kiosk. I suggest putting this on the cable ahead of time so that it's that much easier for you. Just peel this off. Just stick it on the inside here so you can see. we're just trying to keep that cable out of the way when you guys open the door. Now your kiosk may also have a damper plate that would be in here. Not all of them do, but some of them do, and it might look a little different, but you can basically just stick this across there. So now that we have this switch generally wired in there, I have an additional zip tie thing holding it here, so there's 2 of them total. Right now I'm gonna prep the inside. We recommend putting the KMS control module right about here on the left wall, and then we put the battery pack usually right next to it, and we put the battery pack a little bit closer to the door jamb right here, just so it's that much easier to take out. So this, we're just gonna unstick. It's on Velcro, so if you ever need to take it out or replace something, it's easy to do. Just gonna peel that Velcro off, and we're gonna stick it so that the wording is upright and these ports are facing up, just right on the wall. Now the Velcro adhesive might take a little bit of time to set up, in a sense, on the metal, but so if you peel it off right away, the Velcro might not, it might pull off the Velcro adhesive part, but if you let it sit for a couple hours, it'll get stuck on there very well. So now we're going to do the battery pack right next to it, just like that. And when we plug it in, the power plug is just dead center on the bottom here. Now, we're not going to plug it in yet, though, because we have to hook up the rest of our stuff. So we can start by plugging in the kiosk sensor, which is basically on this unit, the door sense switch. Now we will get our LIDAR sensor. Now this sensor indexes to the back wall, basically. So I'm gonna quick prep the ceiling surface, but it ends up adhering right onto here, and then it faces down and measures how much stuff is in there. This little tab goes right against the back wall, and then it's just dead center in there, and then we stick it in there. And now we can put a cable management patch here, and we'll route our cord. So now that we have a cable management patch, and you'd want to put one somewhere on this wall as well. I don't usually do that until I'm completely done, but I'm kind of trying to show it as we go along. Then I'm just going to plug this port into the fill sensor slot. Lastly, we're going to install the way plate here. There are holes right here and on this side for the anchor bolts, and the other anchor bolts kind of sit right in here. So this just sits down in here. So right here is where one of the bolts from the kiosk on the bottom, or where the floor screws on is, and we've cut this out so that there's clearance. Do ensure that there's clearance around where the anchor bolt will come up here, because again, if it doesn't have clearance, then that's gonna be supporting the weight and it won't weigh things properly. There is a side to this. There's a little cutout here on this corner in the back where the cord will go, and that is on the same side that there's this little tab that kind of goes forward a little bit. That's to kind of cover up so that nothing can fall down underneath or anything. It has a pretty tight tolerance. So what I'm going to do is get this generally in here, and then I'm going to grab the cord for the weight plate, and I'm going to make sure that that stays in the back corner of the kiosk as I'm putting this in there, because again, we don't want the plate be supported by anything but those little load cells in there. So now we have a nice clean surface for your boxes to go. And this just plugs in right here once I turn it the right way. There you go. I have put a loop with some of the excess cable over here. I did move this down a touch because it was a little bit tight on here, and we do want this loose so that, again, it's not impacting the load cells. So now that everything is installed in the kiosk, we can go ahead and plug in the unit. And in the next 5 to 10 minutes, it will show up in the portal, and then you can see that the scale and everything is working properly.